Hi everyone, thanks for clicking. This is part 2 in a 5-part series about de-Googled phones. So, what is a de-Googled phone, Bruce?
Okay, yeah, so a phone without Google. And how is that profound, right?
Thank you.
It's like, yeah, that's easier said than done. Because when you get an Android phone, it's one of the first things when you get a new phone. It's like, well, you have to have a Google login, and from that moment on, the moment you log in, then that phone essentially has got everything, data being sent,
all of your information,
all of your information.
That you've been doing.
We'll go into that in detail in the future. So I was thinking, it's like, okay, so in order to de-Google a phone, is there a way to take a phone that you buy from a store and not run Google on it? No, all the phone carriers will only support an operating system that is connected with Google for many reasons. Then ironically, I started Googling.
The irony.
Actually, I started DuckDuckGoing, to be honest.
Okay, so search engine.
Search engine DuckDuckGo.
Searching.
It's such a cool. They actually have a browser, DuckDuckGo browser for iOS and Android. For iOS and Android, yes. There are lots of reasons for that. So I did some searching, and there are a bunch of organizations, small groups of people, some larger, that provide alternate ROMs.
Which is a...
It's a, well, the term ROM is read-only memory, but that's from the vintage days of chips, which actually you programmed once, and that was what was burnt into ROM, read-only memory. That's why they called it that.
Not rewritable.
Yeah. So we've got this image, and that gets put on the phone. And there are many, as I said, a handful of different people that do this, but Lineage OS was the one I picked because it had the largest variety of phones that you could de-Google.
Quite a few.
Right. Yeah. So in other words, the people that are involved in the Lineage OS project, there's enough people involved that they've taken the time. They have enough people with different phones that have taken the time to build an image, to make an image available and to support these phones.
And why do you need to rewrite this image? So, or like retrograde or downgrade or
right.
reverse.
So there's a few parts to that. This was a learning experience for me too. When an Android phone boots up, you can have it go to what's called a recovery boot or recovery image. So really, an Android phone has an option to boot to its main operating system or to a different operating system, which can then allow data to be written or upgrade the phone. So our process that we'll go into in the next video involves that you have to downgrade, because a phone is usually shipped with a more recent version of Android, and so in order to be able to route the phone to do certain steps, you've got to downgrade first. So we'll go into that. So what it does is narrow down the amount of phones available, and you want to be able to get a stock image from, let's say, if it's LG or Samsung or whatever, you need to be able to go to the Samsung website or the LG website and be like, hey, what was the factory image or a factory ROM on this phone back in 2015 or 2016? Like when you buy a PC now, it's running Windows 10, and what we're talking about is putting Windows 7 on it.
Okay.
And it can be done, but there's just some tricks some trick. And the other thing that scared me at first was like, well, okay, so does this mean we can only use cell phones that are, really old ones and clunky and might work slowly?
Yeah, or like, or we have dead batteries. And
okay, so right, so there's another point. So no, actually phones that were really good in 2017 are still very functional right now. And we are focusing on a couple of LG models because of the removable battery. So when you buy a used phone, if it's got an integrated battery, you don't know the history of that phone, and if the phone dies, then you have to take it somewhere to get the battery replaced. But the LG G series, it's really nice because you can pop off the back cover and buy a battery for $30 and replace it. So if you do get a used phone and the battery happens to be not great, Not a big deal. So that was the reason. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Bruce. And stay tuned for the next episode of this installment.